Good morning. My name is Talya Tavor. I'm the field organizer with Environment Maryland Research and Policy Center. Environment Maryland Research and Policy Center is a statewide, citizen-based environmental advocacy group. We work to protect clean air, clean water, and open spaces. I'm joined here today by Senator Cardin's Prince George's County Representative Ryan Middleton, City Council Member Finklin, and of course Delegate Summers. Thank you all so much for joining us today, as well as Environment Maryland interns and summer campaign outreach staff. We are standing here today at the Bladensburg Waterfront Park located at the Anacostia River, one of the most historic waterways in America. Unfortunately, this treasured waterway, like many other in the state and country, are constantly under threat by raw sewage discharge and other contaminants. We are therefore here to highlight our concern for our waterways to the public. Today, Environment Maryland Research and Policy Center is releasing Wasting Our Waterways, our new report which shows that polluting facilities have dumped 1.08 million pounds of toxic chemicals into Maryland's rivers and streams in 2012 alone, making our state the 35th worst in the nation for direct toxic discharge into our waterways. Major findings of the report include 3.23 million pounds of toxic pollution just discharged into the iconic Chesapeake Bay alone in 2012. Our river, which is connected to the bay in the Gunpowder Patapsco River, this river, located in Baltimore actually, is one of the most polluted waterways in Maryland, with one company alone releasing more than 1.03 million pounds of toxic chemicals into it just in 2012. With facilities dumping so much pollution, no one should be surprised that more than half of our waterways in Maryland are unsafe for swimming and fishing. And we should be outraged about this. Let me note two things about the data in our report. First, these numbers on toxic dumping come directly from data reported by the polluting facilities themselves to the EPA's toxics release inventory as required by law. And then second, we have organized this toxic dumping data by watershed, in part because the health of our waters, like the Chesapeake Bay, depend on the rivers and streams that feed into it and the wetlands that help keep it clean. So curbing this tide of toxic pollution will take many steps, including requiring industry to switch from toxic chemicals to safer alternatives. But there is one piece of the solution that is still standing squarely before us now. We must restore protections to the Clean Water Act and to all of Maryland's waterways. Thanks to decisions in court cases brought by polluters, 17,000 miles of Maryland streams and 4 million Marylanders' drinking water are now at risk of having no protection from pollution under the federal Clean Water Act. But after many years of advocacy by Environment Maryland Research and Policy Center, our allies, and our sister organizations around the country, this spring, the EPA finally proposed a rule to restore these protections for our waterways. Unfortunately, practically every polluting industry in the world, largely including food factories and power plants right here in our state, are fighting tooth and nail to fight these vital Clean Water Act protections. And looking at data from our report today, you can see why. The public comment period on this rule began the day before Earth Day and is still open right now. That's why every single day, Environment Maryland Research and Policy Center is working with farmers, small businesses, and tens of thousands of ordinary Marylanders to make sure our voices for clean water are heard in Washington, D.C. Because the future of the Chesapeake hangs in the balance. Maryland's waterways shouldn't be a polluter's dumping ground. And if we want the Chesapeake and its surrounding waterways to be clean for future generations of Marylanders, we must restore Clean Water Act protections to all of our waterways, and we have to do it now. So thank you for being here again today. Thank all of you for being here. I'd like to bring up our good friend at the Anacostia Watershed Society to talk with us more about this waterway, etc.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Charlotte, Maryland, and especially all of you who are working hard this summer to bring the message to the residents and citizens in Maryland and to our elected officials for being here and for your concern. This river, I think, this river is a reminder that toxic pollution has long and severe consequences. Of the 7 identified sites, toxic sites, along the 8 miles of this river, which flows from here down through the district past the new National Stadium, it's a wonderful new development to the Potomac River. We have 7 identified toxic sites there, and of those, just 1 has been cleaned up. And until these sites are cleaned up, this river will not be healthy, will not be fishable or swimmable, which was and is the promise of the Clean Water Act, and the condition that residents and visitors deserve today. The Anacostia Watershed Society was founded 25 years ago to clean this river. And yet, despite hard work and the commitment of many, and many lawsuits, the toxic cleanup has barely begun. We will be struggling as a community for 10 and maybe even 20 more years to remove the toxics that have accumulated here over the last century. And this is a river now without a major ongoing discharge like those documented in this report. We still receive pollution from the stormwater runoff, from the leaching of the chemicals that are already in the land adjacent to the river, and from the air pollution that is coming from, some of it hundreds and thousands of miles away. There are several reasons that this river earned a grade of F for water quality in the most recent review that we conducted just last week. The last and most difficult problem to correct before this river can become healthy is the removal of toxic pollutants, the PCBs, PAHs, heavy metals, and more. So one of the most important lessons we can take from the effort to clean this river and to use and engage with it is prevention. Polluting our rivers and waterways with toxic waste has consequences. The toll to communities from toxic pollution is immense. The cost to clean it is astronomical. And it requires far too much civic energy that could be going into more productive and important community needs. So we're what we are going through here and for decades to come, we do not wish on other communities in Maryland or across the country. And that's why we encourage support for this rule from the Environmental Protection Agency to extend protections and to extend awareness in the community of the pollutants and the consequences. So just let me conclude by saying at the same time, we are very proud of this river, of its legacy, of what it provides to the